All right, and welcome to the Blacklist sessions. I am really excited today. We have a very, very exciting guest, the host of the Insight Intelligence podcast, and also runs the business Insight Intelligence. We have Mario Bekes. How are you?
Not bad, Jay. Thank you for hosting me today. It's a true privilege and pleasure being in your studio now. The man who does the magic for my business. Now it's behind the mic with you, so thank you for having me today.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to have you because you're a very interesting guy.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And you've done a lot of interesting things with your life. So I think it would be best for you to tell everyone about what you do.
Currently, this position where I'm right now, I'm a managing director of the company called Insight Intelligence Group, which I established almost 8 years ago. More from the desperation point of view because, I was a corporate world and then GFC comes and eventually I found myself without a job. So the best way to be independent and never been, retrenched, fired or, sacked, I told myself I'm going to start my business. I started Insight Intelligence Group, which is now premium corporate provider in corporate investigations, human intelligence analysis and social engineering prevention and industrial espionage.
Awesome. Yeah. That sounds pretty interesting. And I think that's a great point. It's what I encourage a lot of people to do is to start their own businesses because that way they can do something they love. Yes. And the risk of getting retrenched or kicked out or made redundant are so much lower provided that, you're good at what you do.
Yeah, well, look, I never envisaged that I will have my own business. So I'm the foreigner. I came to Australia in 98 as the head of intelligence for Croatian embassy in Canberra. And I never thought the first place I'm gonna ever come in this beautiful country. And 5 years down the track, I started my career in Australia. But there was some obstacles. People like to, there's a lot of people who's gonna give you tips and advices. But I truly believe that the best part it is to listen to your own advice and your own intuition. So for me, starting business, I started as a bouncer, as a night patrol man. I was cleaning floors, and then I was climbing a river. Then, seriously, I didn't believe that I would find myself in a situation that suddenly guy with the how to say with a shadowing life, suddenly from badge and gun and suit, 007 lifestyle, found myself cleaning floors. But I did, and it was a difficult time. But I truly believe that there is something more for me there. Mm-hmm. And I do remember the book. Writer's called Paul Hanna, and the book's called "You Can Do It." And trust me, Jay, then my English was terrible. I couldn't understand half what I'm reading, what I'm saying, but one sentence he said, we're living in autopilot mode, which is true. We are born and our parents give us education, who we're going to marry, how many kids we're going to have. Most of people do this, right? I was fortunate enough that I stayed in Australia on my own, and I said to myself, okay, Mari, time to switch off autopilot and drive my life in direction I want to do it. That's my business. And, as Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward but backwards. And everything what I was doing was leading to that point to be retrenched due to GFC and launch my own business.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. I know for myself to go to another country and somewhere that I don't speak the language, if I went over to Croatia, that would be incredibly difficult. So it's fantastic that, you made it through all that and you've created a successful business here in Australia.
Yeah, now I can say successful, but, also it's easy to say to people, how successful you are now, but before you become successful, there's as you're doing the music, you have your own business, Jay, and you try to help other people to step out as well into the scene and the market, by providing them great content, Jay. And I'm grateful that I have you in my business helping me creating that content. But the period where the struggle starts, it's a worst period because you don't see end of the light. And whatever you see, whatever you think, it's the best part it is to find a reason within yourself why you're doing, and sacrifices a lot. I sacrifice my family, I sacrifices my childhood as well. Just to pursue that goal. and there's a certain losses you occur. But if you prepare for this one and you wake up in the morning and you know that there is the reason why you're doing this, you will be successful. So I always say to people, just don't give up. If you're keen enough, if you're ready to sacrifice, just push it. Think will happen.
Yeah, it's so true. There are a lot of sacrifices that do need to be made when you are running a business, and it's just the reality of it, because you just can't have everything that you want.
No, you can't. It's a difficulty. There's a lot of gurus there who's going to tell you many, many, many things. Now, I know that what I disregard in my life was to listen to my intuition, and you need to listen to intuition. That's the only way you're gonna understand. You don't listen your emotions. You don't listen, your logic or your emotions. You need to listen your referee, which is intuition. You can't have everything. You know what I mean? If you want to reach that goal and be a very famous musician like yourself, Jay, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of obstacles, there's a lot of sacrifices, there's a lot of losses, but eventually you come to this. But to reach that goal, you must be prepared. Not to go Friday, Saturday nights out drinking. You need to spend time exercising, your guitar. In my case, studying and preparing the documents, everything else. But you can't have everything.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of your specialities, because the world of espionage is so interesting. We have some fantastic movies out there about James Bond and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and people find that stuff really interesting.
Yes.
So what's the difference between emotional and human intelligence?
Well, my expertise is human intelligence. I never expected that I'm gonna be in that role in my first place. I was 14 years old, and at that stage, I didn't expect I'm going to finish on the street, but my father decided otherwise. And there was a Christmas Eve, and then I found myself on the street. And then my grandfather, who was, I was born in a country called Yugoslavia, which was a hardcore communist country. And my grandfather was, he was working intelligence service, secret police. And took me under his wing, and he sent me military school. As a career progressed, I found myself 4 years later in a war. And then as a war, 6 years later, was progressing towards the end, I found myself in security intelligence services. And education was, you're young, you're not married, you have no kids, you will have your skills. And I said, well, that sounds interesting, but what's the job? Don't worry, Suddenly you find yourself in position that you need to apply all the skills gathered, that given to you to education. And like in corporate world, I always try to explain to people, the weakest link is the humans, right? And interaction between the human to human, it leads to providing informations. So, for example, people will put so much effort in protecting IT. There was so many assets being poured into this. There's so much training is being done. However, now imagine the day, Friday afternoon, people want to relax, right? They're going to go in a pub. Now, there's a lot of people that are being educated in human intelligence. Human intelligence is a discipline where you're using the human skills and interactions to gather information from somebody. Now, there's an entire process in that one. It's intelligence cycle and counterintelligence cycle. But the bottom line, my job was to test vulnerabilities of the system, state system or the corporate system. Does any information leaks out? And in this life, when I was working government, the hindsight of this is you living one life where you can't tell the truth to nobody close to you, your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, nothing. You continuously building that brick wall around you, because you can't talk about what it is. Everybody suspicious it is.
Yep.
But the life, it's very lonely life. It's very lonely life.
Yeah, well, I could imagine, because I understand that you travel a lot and you go around the world to a lot of incredible places. Yeah. And I feel like you'd be getting tested all the time and you'd never know who's testing you.
Look, at the end of the day, clients wants to know that have a bulletproof system in place. Sometimes that bulletproof system needs to be tested by them, or they're going to test it by me. When I say by them, they have internal processes, policies, procedures, and they believe that's the best thing. And then sometimes they call me and say, look, we have a new team on a place. We like to coach them and train them. in human intelligence methods, which is application, of interaction with other side. In corporate world, everything is information. In life, in business, its most valuable commodity it's information. If that information, for example, you're traveling by plane, you do traveling, and people on a plane have the habit to take a laptop, open, do the work. It's not all 300, let's go say, passengers on a plane, genuine people. You just need one person who is targeting you from that corporation. And you open your nice laptop and you start digging into your work. While other person, he's happily using the surveillance methods on the plane and gather information about corporation. A few days later, you can see changes in the stock market, and then corporation calls me and say, like, Mario, we believe that our new blueprint product or some other valuable things they have being leaked out. How is that possible when you have everything on a place? And then I go tracking backwards, from when it happened, something like this. So
it's crazy. Like that kind of thing is so inadvertent. Like people wouldn't even think of that, and that's I guess where they're at their weakest and end up doing that kind of thing.
Look, when we were thinking, we have conversations, off the record they will call. There's no such a thing off the record, but people will talk. So like you just imagine yourself happy hour. Friday afternoon, people go out and they don't talking about. I'm going tomorrow shopping. They're talking about work. They're talking about their peers. They're talking about their colleagues. And of course, occasionally they're talking about products and services they're providing. And I always say there's always somebody there for the reason. In my traveling time, I do travel a lot for work. And I'm grateful for being recognized in worldwide as an expert in human intelligence and industrial espionage prevention. But it's not that way. Everybody likes to know something, Everybody likes to know something. Everybody want to know what Jay plays today. Maybe, as much as you think that you're small, you're important, you are important to somebody.
Very much so. People are always watching. Everyone's always watching.
Look, you can't avoid people's curiosity.
Yep, I think that's very much an innate part of being human. Everyone wants to know everything about everyone, I guess.
Yeah, but on the social media, for example, on social media, everybody try to portray something, they achieve something. And as much as this information looks for you like a small promotion, for somebody means, that's my competitor, my product must go earlier or later. And corporations, particularly in Western society, engaging corporations like my one to investigate, those things, how the information leaking, why the people saying things that they're saying, and then eventually, come into world intrigues, and then you start doing social behavior analysis, surveillances and everything else, try to understand the patterns on somebody, and sometimes the motives is not, it can be difference. Somebody's a blackmail, somebody's a money, somebody's a revenge. Everybody has a different motive why the information is, but mostly people are talking because they don't understand how important their job it is.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a question for you.
Please.
Have you ever had to spy on a spy before?
Yes, I did. Yes. Look, it's when I was working in government sector, I used to be being given the task, right? For example, I'll give you one example. My boss, when I was still working, he gave me envelope. But envelope was open, and he told me to bring to the certain person. Now, I know what my boss it is. Why would they give me envelope to give to our counterpart in service, right?
Yes.
And of course, curiosity was, do I open the envelope, right? And what did happen? At that stage, I was naive, and I read that information. I was like, wow. So I was sitting in the car, and it's like myself, what am I going to do with that information, right? Anyway, I have been tested by a different service, right? Because when I joined, that was called Directorate 7, Department of Foreign Affairs. I was in a coffee shop, right? And I was being approached by beautiful person, beautiful lady. Like, you know, it was, you know, in that world of human intelligence, usually, you know, beautiful women means, you know,
Trouble.
think twice. She gave me an envelope, which was related to the envelope I read it a few days before. And then I understood that actually my job already started to liaise with that person to know what she knows about what we knows.
Yep.
By me actually being applying for the job with them.
Yep.
And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because, you know, you can't create a conversation without a little bit truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start that game, you know what I mean, of, you know, shadow work, which is like surveillance, you know what I mean, they're looking you, they try to talk to you, they try to bring you into out, and, you know, I passed that test, but it's like, it's hard when you need to do work on foreign services. You know that this person says, I'm cultural attaché.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's not cultural attaché. And you go with that game. But it's like, it's a game of the cat and mouse, and you know, everybody tries to make it smarter, and it's a very dangerous game. So like, you know, I was lucky enough, and yeah.
Yep. So beware of the beautiful women if you're spying.
Look, it's like in corporate world, it's like people will not admit this, but it's like, I always tell to my clients, be very much aware when the stranger comes to you, but be very much aware when the person who you can't refuse to have a drink with wants to have a drink with you. Like, you know, I mean, look at me. Like, you know, I mean, do I look like a six-pack model? No, I'm not, you know what I mean? But I have the few occasions in my life when I've been approached, you know what I mean, and being offered many things, and, you know, I knew it. I said, like, no, that doesn't sound right. So you need to stop there. The worst part of the jobs I used to be doing, you know what I mean, and even today, it's you go in foreign countries, you need to understand the culture. Who is your friend? Who is your not friend? And then you understand you on your own, and you know you want to do job the best as possible, but you know you're being observed, and the best part sits on plane, and yeah.
Yep. It's a very complicated. A lot of things that you would have to think of.
It is like, you know, because everybody try to be smarter than you. You know what I mean? Let's go say you fit me in, I don't know, in South Africa, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not belong there, so it's hard for anybody to understand this. Yeah.
Very much so. So, what's some of the biggest frauds that you've uncovered? Like, what's some stories that are just like so crazy that people just wouldn't believe them?
I recently done the work for one of my clients. It was $30 million. They have the person. I'll say the way I can say, right?
Yes, of course.
You have the person in control who never takes the holiday. He's month by month employee of the month.
Yep.
He's a benchmark for the organization, right? Mm-hmm. However, one day that person, after many years, took a sick leave. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that day, discrepancy appears.
Right.
Next day comes back, and I'll try to do this. After they done audit, they realized they're missing $30 million. Yes.
Oh no.
And you know, when you liaise with the government sector, law enforcement agencies, everybody has some part of information, but you don't have the all. So for the fraud to be discovered, you know, fraudsters are using imagination. Fraudsters, they know the loopholes in the system, they know response time of the government sector or the corporation, and they try to infiltrate themselves with their imaginative work, or let's just say creating the template ATO. Why the ATO? ATO sends the letters, they know how they looks like, and they send a million letters, you know what I mean, to email some people, they hook up. Now, in a fraud, in corporation, there is a drivers, is a money, is a lifestyle. So we're talking internal job, right?
Yeah.
This person has an expensive taste for the mistress in London.
Yep.
And eventually I said, like, okay, I'm not interested for all these beautiful stories. Tell me the part where this just happened. And then I realized that this person actually ciphering money. I need to prove the ciphering money. And just by accident, again on a plane, I was traveling, and I overheard conversation. And when I landed, I said, like, you know, this is lead, we should follow up. $30 million. The person's being prosecuted, of course, you know what I mean, here in Australia, but they recovered the money. Of course, money was being spent on all beautiful cars,
Mm-hmm.
so that organization could recuperate the money. But $30 million was one of my biggest cases, and craft they're using. Jay, trust me, you and I will think like everything's beautiful, but the point it's always some driver. Fraud always has some driver. It's a money, it's a lifestyle, it's a prestige, maybe it's a revenge, you know what I mean? Try to set up somebody organization.
Mm-hmm.
But I say like, instead of just investigating how something's missing, it's try to understand who would have had access for such a amount of money and to control, and you narrow this, and then you see that most beautiful employee of the year was actually he was a benchmark, you know what I mean? He was a standard for everybody, and I said like, that's too good to be true. And then when you say somebody too good to be true, that's what you done.
Yeah, that sounds like a James Bond movie to me. I reckon you could create
is, you know what I mean? Like, so because then you need to step it out of your zone, you know what I mean, of daily life, and you need to be that person. You know what I mean? The worst part is, you watch the movie Wolf of
Wall Street?
Yes.
Is that the one? Yeah, I love that movie.
There was a guy called Frank Abagnale. The movie has been made by him, Catch Me If You Can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful story. You know what I mean? There's a cons who done the fraud, and then now they're educating, entertaining people, right?
Yeah.
But these people learn the craft, and that's a trust. Fraud is about trust, and trust has been abused. That's it.
Yeah, so it's not your common criminals that you're dealing with. You're dealing with smart people that are prepared.
And look, you and I can go anywhere in this place in Sydney, you know what I mean? And you can't say who is a fraudster, who is not fraudster. But once when you find out who the fraudster is, it usually comes to the one point. Person who can do this, right? When talking about fraud of $100, $200, people love to use the word fraud everywhere. Let's go say in insurance industry where we're working quite a lot, claims investigation, the fraud, it's a common thing, but there is always driver behind. Now, how are you going to prove somebody fraud? It's happened, not happened. That's the difficult part. Even police, who has assets and everything else, it can't do this overnight. Nobody can do this overnight. It's a piece by piece, painstaking job. And then you and I will create imaginative theory, it's called. We have the theory, how the J becomes most famous musician. So you have let's say 5 theories. And as the investigation goes, I will reduce these theories to the one, because my intuition says, and your modus operandi, perhaps, I have no evidence as like, okay, that's how it's been done. Now let's go prove this by facts and evidence. And fraud, it's difficult to prove. I'm fortunate enough that I could apply my knowledge from different life previously.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
So do you find that people tend to be quite predictable? Like, do they start to fall into patterns?
They are, like in the business world, we all programmed, we everything doing in numbers. That's what I learned in Intelligence Academy. We are like a binary code, 1010. We wake up in the morning, we do the breakfast, we do the gym, we do the work and everything else. Now, everything is in the numbers. And every behavior is predictable, right? It's predictable because, look, at the end of the day, people wake up to go to the work, to make the money, come home. Mm-hmm. However, to predict criminal behavior, it's difficult, because now all the books from before, what I was studying, becomes sort of obsolete because digital age coming. So it's hard to predict how someone's going to use digital platforms to become, fraudster, to become, to do internal theft or external theft. Mm-hmm. But yes, people become predictable, Jay. Absolutely. You can predict everybody.
Yeah. So do you find that social media has been quite helpful to developing investigations? Yes, they are. I think social media, and particularly social open source intelligence, mm-hmm. which is heavily being used, in my corporation, in my business, helps us to identify people, because internet, it's a tricky thing. People delete things, but you never delete things. There's always something there on the internet. Nothing's ever truly deleted from the internet.
No, nothing. So let's just say you and I, when I was started on being social media, you wanted some attraction, everything else, but then you want to promote a business, you want to do this, and it's not everything beautiful. And I mean, sometimes you have the awful advertising, so you want to disappear and everything else. But at the end of the day, social media, it's a two-sided sword. Sometimes can help you, but sometimes, as much as helping you to promote yourself, it helps to your competitor, people who don't love you very much.
They get to see everything.
And as you know, Cambridge Analytics a few years ago, in cooperation with Facebook, being caught, and all the data mining on social media is being used actually to manipulate and predict human behavior for elections. So, what I say to you, it's a necessary evil we're using every day because, social media. But that's the tool how we predict somebody else's behavior.
Well, the amount of information that the tech platforms have, like if you combined your Google account with your Facebook account and Instagram and like all of those accounts, like I guarantee that they would know more about you than you'd probably know about yourself.
Like when you think this way, people talk about cloud computing. And I always say, like, what's the cloud computing? You're like, where is this cloud? This is secure, this and that. It's like, okay, but that's a physical somewhere server. Who has access to that server?
A lot of people.
Yes, so like maintenance people, everything else. So like, how do you know that this information has not been used somewhere? And centralizing information it's always a problem. In a Cold War, the Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc, they will have let's say, this cup, all the manifest and the tech specs and everything else has been separated on so many locations that nothing sits on one. And that was a world of espionage was always been intrigued. People think, take the cameras, small, this, it doesn't work that way. But the thing is, in today's world, tech specs of this glass jar will be on one spot. Somewhere on some server. But you don't need to chase the server. Why would you chase the server? That's what I try to explain corporations. Somebody come with idea and create a blueprint. It's a human. So find the source. Once when you find the source, you're going to get all informations. But somewhere on a farm, server farm, that information sits and somebody has access to this. While you and I believing that it's being protected heavily. But
that's an incredibly good point, which a lot of people wouldn't think of when they go cloud computing. They just see the big name like Amazon, and they go, it must be 100% secure. But yes, of course, it always comes down to that access thing. And, there might be encryption, but it's not going to be that far away that quantum computers are going to be able to crack that encryption like that.
You know that every solution has a problem. We create the first solution before we had a problem. For example, you say quantum computers and all these things. Some things already exist, but we always have the solution before we have the problem. Otherwise, we'll not have the policy and procedures. So we know how to deal with the potential problems. Now, when the information on server farm is being protected, encrypted, the blockchain, whatever they call this, it's all this is fancy names, And again, I told you, somebody sits there on that server farm in a night shift and controls the entry. Do you believe that person has a salary of $1 million or that person has normal salary? Well, that's the problem. People, they don't know how it's protected.
Yeah, I'd say that would be a massive vulnerability. Is that person? Because I'm sure, like a company that wanted access to some kind of IP, all it would take is, hey, we'll give you a couple of $1 million, and
not even that. There was a famous case. I wrote an article, but it's called the trash intelligence. And as much trash is being seen as a trash doesn't belong to nobody. You put in the street, it's a trash. Nobody takes the trash. There was a famous case between Oracle and Microsoft. Oracle paid one company to pay the cleaner to take the garbage out. And they're being caught because the cleaner becomes the greedy, right? And he works for something, I don't know, $20 per hour. I don't know the truth, how much he makes money, but he's been paid a couple $1,000. However, he realized that this paperwork and the trash goes to the competitor. So he started blackmailing, and eventually he goes to the corporation and told them, this is how it is. Like, you have the MasterCard employee in the kitchen. That's a famous case. He was dealing with information from MasterCard with the other corporation. There's a case I wrote about this. So you don't need physically, tangible information in a server. You just talk to somebody.
Yep, the information's always out there one way or another.
Yeah, and people love to talk, and that's the world of human intelligence. That's how I try to help the clients, to educate them. You can protect everything, but if you know how the information is being protected, your company can rest. If you don't know how to protect, or employees doesn't understand the value of information, unfortunately, always going to be industrial espionage, and that's how they spying on each other.
Yeah. So let's say we have a business owner and there's money that's just starting to go missing. And they're not sure where it's going missing.
Yeah.
What do you think are some techniques or some things that they should do first to try and, work out what's going on there?
Look, when the money missing in a company, we're talking about, physical cash, or we're talking about it's always somebody who has access. It's an endpoint. I say to clients, why would you investigate entire personnel, right? But the best part it's to talk to the people who are very, very below. Now, it's not highly regarded in corporations to talk to security guards, the cleaners, and everything else. But trust me, Jay, these people know the most. Now, there's several ways you can insert yourself in a company and being appointed to investigation, which is time consuming. But when money missing, somebody must put that money somewhere somehow, and that's not the first person in accounting. Accountant. Somebody signs off the money. Often when the money is missing, that person is prepared to be caught because he took the risk, right? Or that person already being one door exit, 1 foot exit to the door in different world. Now, when it's missing a couple $1,000, it's being seen, not seen, is discrepancy. But when you have the huge amount, like my client, $30 million, this is
quite significant.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but it's a hard. If you don't know how things happen, that's the corporation needs to create something that's called modus operandi system. When you're putting the all possible ways about employees, about protections, how something happened. It's like a vault with all possible information company happen from the security point of view, from the employee's point of view, and then you try to match, person with event, and somehow, somewhere, somebody in company, he will say, I know Jay was there, because you have the people who are honest, and they will step out. If you identify those people in corporation, you have the answers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And my next question was going to be what is the future of espionage? Because I was, things are getting so complicated, but I feel like it's going to come back to that same answer. It's going to come back to humans and that link of humans being the weak one.
Human firewall, it's the weakest. Your strongest link in corporation, it's the weakest one. It's a human. We can protect informations, and as I said, we can talk now. What people don't want to accept, you have the low-paid employees, cleaners, security guards, and everything else. They're doing the extremely good job. Now, they can be easiest target for some corporations to approach them and offer them something more an extreme, right? More money, more lifestyle, and everything else. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen. There's so many examples there. Now, information, I always say, it doesn't start with the computer and end its computer. This mic somebody designed.
Yes.
That shirt somebody saw. There's always human factor must be included. Corporations going to fight now harder on the market, and the product value, it's actually what's drive them for the profit. Now, who has a better product? Affordable, it's going to make more money, obviously. Now, some competitors will not choose to get a slice of the market by using some other different methods of the industrial espionage, which is sabotage. It's happening. Plant burns. There's a lot of examples involved when you can see that corporation start occurring the losses. Even for one day production line stops, they don't investigate why it stops, but it stopped. But it's always somebody somewhere somehow try to do this. Now look to Jay. There is a lot of people there with intelligence, human intelligence skills, being retired or they're not happy. They will look for the employer, and everybody has their different modus operandi. Human firewall, it's the weakest and should be the strongest, because it's easy to protect something, as you say, with the encryption. But end of the day, person goes home. Now, does this person work on the blueprints? Perhaps yes. Does it draw on a paper? Perhaps yes. Check the garbage. You know what I mean? It's free. It doesn't belong to nobody. Nobody can prosecute you. But you predict social behavior of the person, and then you slowly put in the puzzles. And it looks like a science fiction. I know it's a fact. This is the way how the life works. And most sinister thing it is to people disregard. I don't care for garbage. I don't care for this. We done research for the one American firm a few years ago, NDIS, and they are National Destruction Safety Company, and there's a body, and they bought 50 hard drives across the globe. 50 hard drives, brand new and second hand, and in 20% of the hard drives who is supposed to be being wiped out, we found informations. Now, think about this one. You give your computer away to be destroyed, hard drive to be erased, but it is not. It's difficult, and that's what a corporation. Small things adds up, and the big. Think this way: all the problems come to the door. All problems come out the door.
Yeah, you have to be so careful. That's incredible. So there's so many different ways to collect information. That's amazing.
Yes, it's like, look, and then you have the social media. Like, the corporate world can't compare with, joint geographical intelligence, technical intelligence, satellite intelligence. There's so many aspects of intelligence, but end of the corporations going the tier down, which is human intelligence, which is open source intelligence. This is the parts, they can utilize on daily. So like if I utilize to analyze somebody, those disciplines, imagine how competitor can go hard, more money. Today you can hide a satellite. You can hide a satellite, you know what I mean? And, I want it on a particular area to be, done the geographical analysis, you know what I mean? And then, I know you're doing some type of the drilling, but imagine how much so deep a pocket it is, more you can afford to get out.
Amazing. It's very much a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
So what are some future goals for you? What are you looking to do with yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm as I said like before, like I'm happy enough, fortunate enough, and I'm very grateful that after 8 years, my company's intelligence group been recognized on the market worldwide. And, we have some organic growth. We have the trust of the clients for 8 years. They have a trust in me when the first day I begged them for the work. They still remember this. Even I have the one client who is laughing to me every time when we go for lunch, because very first time I saw him, I literally lied that I forgot my wallet to take him for the lunch, and he paid for the lunch. And he says to me, "It's like you have a wallet." I say, "Yes, I do." So this year I'm the book writer. I'm now the public speaker with authority. I'm gone into education, and now I'm educating corporations and training their staff in investigative methods, which is my baby, which is my core. I love to teach people how to do investigation, insurances, and fraud prevention. And second part, it is I am doing now public speaking across the globe and educating, training in industrial espionage prevention, human intelligence analysis, and most importantly, that was my passion to be there. Because trust me, Jay, I'm so grateful being today even with you. If somebody told me that I'll have the podcast with a man with your stature and very honestly in your profile and speak with you today, I would say like that'll never happen. But I'm grateful again, because like this is what I wanted to do, you know what I mean? I want to spread the knowledge and educate people. This is the year I'm doing this. My personal brand, mariobekes.com.au.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And it's clear that you're doing a lot of great things.
Thank you.
So if someone was looking to start their business, they're kind of on the edge and they're really passionate about one thing. You did it. So what's some advice that you would give to someone that's looking to start and grow something?
Look, I think that needs to be clear on idea. what do you want to do. Like, you don't need to be like 50 ideas, you know what I mean? But you need to be clear on idea. I can't explain to process, Jay. As I said before, I don't know how it happened. I was just pushing. But the one thing I'd always have on my mind, I knew it, that being bullied by the people, I believe the friends, being betrayed by the family, and everybody tried to sidetrack you. And I mean, that was my experience. But the one thing I always believe, there is something more there for me. I can do it. And despite all odds, I always say to myself, don't give up, Maya. Just don't give up. There must be something more there. And anybody who starts a business, if it's clear what he wants to do, first, there is no safe zone. You can't wake up in the morning and say, like, I will do the 9-to-5 job, run the business at night. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? You're prepared to be hungry. I've been, without home. I've been hungry. I've been smashed by life few times. Not so many times, few times, so hard that, in the morning, you can't even grasp, the idea, wake up and go to do something. But when I saw that I'm doing something, and I knew that there's no clients, but I was preparing some documents, I was creating. Suddenly, first client pops in, I have everything ready. Only why? Because I have a support of few people, and I do have that one in me. Don't give up, because life is too short. There is no safe zone. You don't want to have the risk in your life. Good. Wake up 9 o'clock in the morning, go to work, come back. That's it. You know what I mean? You know how much time you sacrifice, go for the gigs, making other people famous because you're using your skills to make the people, visible on video. That's the time you fly in Alaska, you fly in Europe, all looks is fancy, but it's a time sacrificing. While most of the people are going to come home and say, like, life is hard. Yes, it is, you know what I mean? Enjoy your life. I'll do my best, but I'll say everybody, if you clear what you want to do, be prepared to take a risk and don't give up. Those two things.
Yeah, fantastic advice there. Something that I do to keep myself hungry is I keep just $2,000 in my checking account and I move everything else elsewhere. It's either in stocks or it's in like real estate or something like that. And I imagine that money does not exist. And I find that that's a great way to keep me motivated, because I'm like, okay, I have $2,000 to my name. I need to do something.
That's a good one, because you see, you're creating that hungry environment. You're hungry, and people don't become hungry. Like, I know myself, and I know the examples. People come from 0 to 100 very quickly. And there is no express elevator for success. And once when you taste that glory, like, oh, I'm making money and everything else, and you fall back, you know what's happened? You crush.
That's right. So what are some of the things that you do to keep yourself hungry after all this time?
Well, look, I love challenges. I must say myself, I'm seeing sometimes myself, I reach it to the pinnacle of something what I'm doing. For example, the book writing. I will never imagine I'm going to do my book writing. It's on English. English is not my language. I finished my study now. So I said, like, okay, what's next? So I will ask, I have a great mentor, Dr. Troy Whitford in Charles State University. I said to him, Troy, what's my next step? He says to me, do you want to do PhD? I said, like, do you believe I can do it? Okay, do this one. Now, I motivate myself different way. I always say to myself, I must do what nobody will do it. And what will do be this year? I said, like, I will be public speaker, number one in Australia. I'm going to say public speaker in investigation intelligence. That's what I would say. So I was going to create myself the task and goal, which is looks impossible. So that's how I keep myself hungry. Not hiding money, but you know what I mean, because I don't try to not look to money. Because it's like, I think you're the good example, you're a great example. Like, what I mean, you're working hard, you're earning money, but I love the humbleness in you. You always have your glasses, you always your black t-shirt. It's always Jay Seeney. You know what I mean? And that's what I like in people. People change with the money. They change behavior, they change the clothing, they change everything else. Don't take me wrong, it's important, but you cannot be satisfied with the one thing.
100%. I think, yes, you've always got to be evolving. You've always got to be changing, growing, and learning new things. Because if you're not growing, then, you're dying.
I know it's not important for our audience, but I know when I ask you, say, Jay, can you help me with the podcast? You know what I mean? I'm so grateful. Just create a content. You told me, Mark, this is the button you need to press here. It's going to be all across the web. This is going to, when am I going to do all this? I will never know. So I'm grateful for things and that's how we give life to back. You meet people. And of course, I will do my best thing to people like yourself. I said, bring along with me on my journey, because I know me creating environment for my hunger and being successful, these people is going to come along with me, and I can share with them new experiences and introductions in networking and everything else. Yes.
Yeah, that's great information.
Thank you.
Something I think is really important is surrounding yourself with great people that are hungry. Because, if you're surrounding yourself with heroin junkies, then chances are, things could go pretty bad pretty quickly. But if you're surrounding yourself with people that are hungry and are doing great things and bringing so much value to the world, then you're going to kind of gravitate towards that.
Yes, look, there's an expression I just, quite a lot. I'm listening to some things on YouTube and on Spotify, and I try to grow my mental strength, let's just say. And I was told, who you surround yourself with, that's what you're going to be. If you surround yourself with 9 of 10 people who are not hungry for the life, you'll not be hungry for the life. But if you surround yourself with 9 of 10 people who are hungry, who wants more, that's what it is. You see, you don't need somebody else to tell you what to do. That's not the way. The way it is, you wake up in the morning, it's like, I want more from my life. I want more for my family. But the best part is when you can utilize your skills and knowledge and make other people grow. And that's the way how I see myself. I love what I do. And I said, okay, I created quite a lot. Now it's time to share that knowledge. Not just, to my work investigations on, or competitor analysis, this and that. I want to now stand up in front of the insurance company people and say, tell me your problem. This is solution. Don't be short-sighted with what you have right now. Let me give you more. And that's how the people should reciprocate to each other. Sharing the knowledge.
Definitely. That's what life's all about. Yeah. So I'm very grateful to be surrounded with folks like yourself.
Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It's been so great to have Mario. He's very well rounded, has a lot of great knowledge about a lot of different areas in business and intelligence. So what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Look, it's just simple. Go on www.insideintelligencegroup.com.au or just Google Mario Bekes on LinkedIn and please be in touch.
Yeah, Mario's famous now, so you can just Google his name and he'll come up.
After this, I'm very famous, so thank you, Jay. I truly appreciate that.
Yep, so Inside Intelligence Group,
yes,
group.com.au. So thank you guys so much for listening. It's been fantastic. Stay tuned. We have a lot of great episodes coming up. Looking forward to chatting with many interesting guests about business and some of the fields that they are experts in. So we'll catch you later.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.